Welcome to A to Zephyr with Ryan Nauman from Zephyr. In this podcast, we help wealth managers, financial advisors, and asset managers overcome challenges in creating meaningful investor relationship experiences. We do this by introducing innovations driven by Zephyr's cutting-edge technology and global financial insights. Join us for this journey where we dive into pioneering wealth management strategies as Zephyr draws from decades of experience and guest financial wizards to address the nuances of investment management.
Hello, and welcome to the podcast, A to Zephyr. For those of you joining us for the first time and may not know what the benefits are that Zephyr offers within the wealth management industry, let's start with a high-level overview. Zephyr is an investment management software used by financial advisors, wealth managers, asset managers, financial analysts, RIAs, and trust advisors. This podcast addresses the many ways that your peers in the industry use it, because Zephyr allows its customers to optimize portfolios, identify risk tolerance, ensure compliance, evaluate performance, create proposals, and more. And in fact, 100% of customers create custom documents and proposals and reproposals and fact sheets to communicate with their clients and turn their prospects into customers. Joining us today on this podcast, we have Randy Jones. He is Director of Product Management for Zephyr, and Ryan Nauman, Market Strategist at Zephyr. Gentlemen, welcome. Good to see y'all again.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks for having us back each month. It's an
well,
honor.
you know, I'm stuck with you.
Yeah, it's been a really fun series of podcasts. So it's great to be back again for another one.
It is. It's been really, really interesting, and I've learned a lot of things. I was familiar with Zephyr, but I've learned a lot of things and a lot of benefits that Zephyr offers over the course of this podcast. In fact, Randy, I'm going to start with you because we know that creating efficient processes is important. And we also know there seems to be a bigger push by financial advisors recently to make those processes scalable. So how can financial advisors meet the daily demands of their business within the context of just trying to make all of these clients feel like they are being individually serviced and paid attention to?
Well, I guess the first step that I guess we look at is how do we define scalable? So when you kind of look at, the definitions that I've seen where we're trying to provide, future advisors are trying to provide like future clients, the same level of service as their existing clients without extra cost. So we're seeing, I've been in webinars and I've seen scenarios where advisors have been challenged where they have the matriarch or patriarch, the parents who have, inherited the money to 4 children. So how does the advisor scale and provide the same level of service to the 4 children as they did to the parents without extra cost? So you need a system, which Zephyr provides that has, repeatable and automated processes so that the way that you kind of service the one, you can service the many. So that's really what we've focused on. And, the other part of that is that there's still a lot of disparate systems out there. So to scale, if they're not in sync, there may be services or parts of the engagement and tools that you're using that may be ahead of the other ones. So with Zephyr, we have our entire workflow that is repeatable and automated all in one system and all in one platform. So that's really, the daily demands, part of it is that exponentially the number of clients, whether they're in a family, like I say, where you have, one household, but now you've got the kids in the household. But it's being able to scale that, provide the same service at the same cost or even lower cost.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. That does make sense, because if you're on different systems, you are not being very efficient in trying to create those services, first of all. And you're right, they're not inherently scalable like, you would see and use within Zephyr. In fact, Ryan, it takes me to this. What are some of the tasks that financial advisors can make more efficient with scalable workflow within the definitions that Randy laid out for us?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the first step is to separate the daily demands into broad tasks. For a financial advisor, you have the back office demands that focus on the administrative and operational tasks that are necessary to support the practice. Some of those back office tasks might include document management, account maintenance, client requests, compliance requirements, all that really fun stuff that
all that stuff we all love doing,
love
right?
to do. Then you have the middle office demands, such as the investment management functions of the practice, like investment research, portfolio construction, performance reporting, risk management, investment reporting. And that's where Zephyr excels. That's where Zephyr really fits in well, is managing the middle office. And then finally, you have the front office demands that focus on client-facing activities, which are arguably the most important, such as prospecting, meeting clients, client onboarding, and ongoing communication. So determining what tasks to automate to create efficient workflows is important, so financial advisors can focus on the tasks that help drive business growth, like focusing on client communication, such as communicating investment performance, which helps enhance that client experience.
That's interesting, but it does beg the question, of how Zephyr does this and makes the practices scalable. And for that answer, I'm going to go back to Randy. I mean, how everything he just talked about, that guy, how does Zephyr make that happen?
Well, first and foremost, like I say, it's all in one platform. But I go back to a theme that we've had in previous podcasts on the personalization theme. And I'll keep going back to, we have really two types of investors that we see with the advisors.
Yeah.
We've got the inherited, the wealth transfer, where the money's moving, like I say, from a parent to 4 children. And then you have the up and coming generations who are just starting to invest and are reaching out to advisors. So the thing, Zephyr addresses that personalization. How an advisor will engage with investors that have investment knowledge versus those who are very new to investing and don't know. So the engagement, the portfolio construction, the onboarding process, the ongoing reporting and monitoring is different because just the nature of their client. So if it's someone who has investment knowledge versus someone who doesn't, Zephyr provides those types of personalized workflows that will address both of those. So the personalization is key. Like I say, also having repeatable automated processes in one platform versus using multiple disparate systems to do the workflow. But it's really Zephyr's ability to allow advisors to really personalize that engagement, whether it's just, more, a larger number of investors versus, in the same household, or you have a whole new crop of, investors coming up. It's the next generations who really aren't familiar with investing. So being able to scale the number of clients, again, at the same cost or lower cost, but then being able to engage them personally from different perspectives is another big, a power of Zephyr's platform.
Well, while we're on it, Randy, what are some of the best practices for Zephyr users who want to create efficient workflows in Zephyr?
Well, we look at the entire, kind of what we call the entire Zephyr continuum, which is the workflow. And there are best practices built into each one. So the first touch point typically for our advisor clients and their prospect is the onboarding process. Really accessing the household, current household investments, comparing that to your proposed or model portfolio and doing that from a personalized and tailor-made perspective. To easily perform, due diligence on existing investments in a client's portfolio or, investments that you're going to propose. creating those proposed portfolios and or models using our asset allocation modeling. So each of these steps, there's a best practice that follows each of the components of our investment workflow. Then we have incorporating financial planning, into the mix, using our Monte Carlo simulation, for example. Then we have, easy to use, ease of use and in-depth screening to find the best managers. So there's a best practice for replacing potential investments or hiring new managers, depending on your client's financial goals. And then we have the ongoing monitoring. You've actually hired me as your advisor. And now, again, we have more of a personalized, tailor-made way to monitor, on an ongoing basis that your financial goals are being met. So there are probably 7 main steps, I guess, in the workflow that we call the Zephyr Continuum. And they're really best practices in each one of those, but they're all tied together.
Interesting. Well, Ryan, it kind of leads us over to you about some of the important considerations that FAs need to make when they're looking at these processes. What can you add to that?
Yeah, I think first they need to clearly define and document each step of the process. If you know and understand each step of the process, you may be able to identify bottlenecks in that process. And if there are bottlenecks in that process, then you can help correct them or try and remove those bottlenecks. It also ensures consistency and improves efficiency. Randy had mentioned earlier about just making something repeatable and consistent, and just very important. So many people might be within the practice wear different hats. They know exactly what the process is. So then it looks like it's a consistent process for the client. Second, and Randy said it perfectly earlier, is leverage technology. Leverage tools that can help solve practice inefficiencies. Technology can help enhance that client experience. For example, CRM systems, document management systems, and accurate and efficient performance reporting. Randy said it, Zephyr is a prime example of how advisors make the investment management process efficient. It incorporates proposal generation, asset allocation, Monte Carlo, manager search and analysis, attribution analysis, and then that very important personalized reporting in one application, which helps make that investment management workflow more efficient. And lastly, it just doesn't stop. Once you create that efficient workflow, that scalable process, that's not the end. Continuously review the workflow, evaluate it to determine if it is still working, or if bottlenecks exist, or is there a better solution out there? And be open to feedback from the team members to see if there are ways to streamline the process, which may help the client experience.
Yeah, well,
just to add to that, I mean, and we'll probably talk about this, in one of our podcasts. I think AI has come up, but it's also, our focus on the future is, how do we make it even more scalable? But that's providing, using potential AI solutions to help our advisors, automatically, we can summarize and automate the insights process. So manual processes that, it's the process we're just talking about, that our client, the workflow that our advisors go through, we can potentially automate a lot of that even more with AI and free them up for more time to spend with this growing number of clients, from one to many. So we're definitely pursuing and looking at ways that we can help advisors automate all types of processes within the Zephyr platform, currently. So.
Yeah, no. I mean, look, the thing that has struck me all along in these different podcasts that we've done about Zephyr is that it's not quite AI. It is a really efficient automation. It's a really powerful data tool. It does analysis, and as we've been discussing today, it creates efficiencies in the process. And so let me throw this sort of final question out here for this one. And it's what's the importance of recognizing what workflows can be made more efficient through technology? And, maybe it's just as a bonus, how you kind of see possibly AI playing some sort of potential role in all of that.
Well, for me, we're seeing that, the medium of how the next generations of clients want their data is changing.
Yeah.
The PDF, is probably going to go by the wayside, but it's converting that to audio, for example. If I have if I'm presenting to you a 20-page investment report that we go through monthly, and I've spent, at least 2 hours before I present you that report, going through and picking out and summarizing the value add and making sure that we're on task for your financial goals, right. I can have AI do that for me and create that summary. And whether it's a focus on performance, a focus on risk. So that just frees me up for 2 hours from having to go through the report, where AI can interpret the data for me. And then the next step would be potentially to convert that to an audio. If I'm in Zephyr, could I have a podcast of my own every morning that it gives me a summary of each of my clients' accounts?
Yeah.
Where we've converted their actual data to audio. Or I can convert your report potentially to audio, where you could listen to the summary of your report versus me handing you a PDF after I've gone through it for 2 hours to figure, to really isolate the value add. These are areas where we're looking at applying AI to automate the summarization and interpreting the data, and then providing it maybe in a different format, a video, an audio, versus an actual PDF file.
Yeah,
so that will really help scale, that from our perspective.
Well, just as a client of a financial advisor, I like everything you just said, Randy.
This is what the themes that we're seeing, and it is changing quickly, but it helps scale. It frees up time. So these are and it's reality. These things can be done.
Yeah.
And the change in the mindset of the next generation of investors, whether they inherit the money, whether they're coming up, right out of the gate from their first job out of college, but the way that the advisors will engage AI can play a tremendous part in really automating further, the processes that we currently have.
Yeah, no, I think it's exciting. Any final thoughts from you, Ryan?
Yeah, no, Brandy, that was perfect. And it just goes back to what we've talked about in a lot of other episodes is, financial advisors, they have a lot on their plate. They're pulled in many different directions. So it's vital to, annualize the daily process and create efficient workflows. We often say, work smarter, not harder. And that is the case on why it's so important to create efficient workflows by leveraging technology and soon, leveraging AI. So these daily tasks that you have to do that aren't revenue producing, but are vital, you can make those efficient. And now the financial advisor can focus on the value add daily tasks like client communication, meeting the daily demands from clients, which enhance that client experience and drive AUM higher. So technology is the focus, the center point there in order for financial advisors to really grow their practice and take it to the next level.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense, because I can see as a customer, right, how it frees up my financial advisor to maybe focus more on the human side of this, while the data side gets taken care of through efficient processes in Zephyr.
Yeah. And I think that's the end game for the advisors, to really have that more of that human contact and let technology do the repeatable, and interpretation. So yeah, it's exciting.
Well, I used to work for a guy, guys, I'd go in and you'd have to discuss process, right? And he hated process. He had no patience for process. And so I listen to this and I think about process being made more efficient. In fact, being made so efficient, I don't have to think about it anymore. Yeah. And I like that. I like that a lot, as a matter of fact.
Exactly.
Well, guys, we've come to the end of another podcast, and I want to thank the people who took the time to listen today and remind them that if they're not already subscribers to the podcast, that part's really easy. Just hit the subscribe button. You can follow the podcast, and then you'll be notified every time a new one of these gets dropped. And Randy, Ryan, before we get out of here, if anybody's listening to this who wants to have maybe a further conversation with you, if we got a financial advisor or head of a group of financial advisors who want to explore this more, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Yeah, thanks, Bill. There's a couple of ways. Our website is fantastic with a lot of information, contact information, and that is zephyrfinancialsolutions.com. It's zephyrfinancialsolutions.com. You can also email us at zephyrinfo@informa.com. Also, get in touch with myself. My email address is ryan.nauman@informa.com. So a lot of different ways you can reach out. Our website is fantastic. And then we're also very active on LinkedIn as well. So, please follow us on LinkedIn. That will help provide you with a ton of information and insights on how we can help your practice.
No, it's fantastic. Now, I would encourage people to, in fact, do exactly that. Reach out and learn more about this really powerful technology. Until next time, I'm Bill Tucker, your friendly moderator, thanking you for taking the time to listen today. And I want to remind you, you can go out today and make today a great day or not. It's your choice. Thanks for taking the time to listen. Until next time.
Thank you for listening to A to Zephyr. Click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available, and be sure to check today's show notes on how you can get in touch with us. Once again, thank you for listening. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Zephyr. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning.